and welcome to another episode of Marriage Alive. We are your hosts today, Cherisse and Deon Madeira, and today we have as our guest the Manswells, two lecturers from the Caribbean Nazarene College. We have Mrs. Barbara Manswell and Dr. Anthony Manswell. Welcome to an episode. We're very excited about today's session.
Thank you.
So we're going to go right into, I think, the most asked question regarding finances. Any couple we talk to, this usually comes up. So I'm going to ask you, is there one superior financial management technique? Like, is there one benchmark, one standard that kind of works for all, one fits all kind of concept, you know, regarding having separate bank accounts, maybe one joint? What do you think?
Could I answer that first and then she answers?
Sure.
There's one superior, I'm in charge of everything. Is that okay? No, she will give the right answer now.
I think in terms of technique, I think the most important thing is that both of you come together and say, whatever is our income or whatever, it's ours. And the concept that when we are truly one, then everything we have together becomes ours. So it's not your money and my money, it's not your account and my account. This all is ours as we work to build our life together in Christ.
You think you want to add to that, Mr. Manswell?
No, not really. Just a bit of humor. It's a little bit who I am when I'm doing interviews and stuff. And I'm glad about what she said. And what she said is absolutely correct because she makes more money than me. So it's good that it's more money. Yeah.
That's the best combination. I don't know. That answer kind of negated my question, but I'll still ask the question anyway. How important is it to the health of a marriage that couples discuss financial decisions together as opposed to one manage a particular set of things and the other manage a particular set of things and just kind of haphazardly doing it? How important is it for collaboration?
Yeah, this one I'll probably get a little more serious on here. I was joking around before, but the financial management for couples in terms of their finances and economics is critically important because there are a few major issues involved in the idea of one person in a marriage perhaps managing the finances or being in charge of it to the extent that the other person does not have some working knowledge of what the financial situation of that couple is. Number one, lack of the ability to deal with each other openly and to talk about your finances reflects on the idea that there's a sense of mistrust within that marriage. That's the key and critical starting point that one needs to understand if there's this implicit and lack of trust, which would lead to other problems within marriage. At the same time also, the reason for collaboration and both persons understanding what's going on is if it's really your money, if you save, it's your money. If you spend, it's your money. If one is spending outside of what is agreed on and all of that, it creates a certain problem. So you've gone from trust and mistrust idea to this sense of usage of money that is not sanctioned by both of you. That leads to further conflict, a lot of quarrels, and in some cases, eventually, some have even reached a case of divorce. That's how severe it can get. And so with that kind of understanding, if you know what you've agreed on, what you're willing to spend, without the other person knowing, little amounts, but for the most part, both parties should have an idea of what are in the accounts. Even if you've got a separate account each, you do have joint accounts, but still one is always privy and should be privy to what the financial situation is for that couple.
How much money you have? Yeah. Every time you will answer a question, it just kind of messes up the other questions. That's how good all the answers are. I think like the fear of one trying to protect themselves from an over-controlling spouse causes them to make certain decisions, and then there are certain times that one spouse may not be very knowledgeable about finances and they just put complete trust in the other person. Either there's like two sides. You're trying to find that balance there, what you're trying to talk about.
I think part of, can I just jump in
Yeah.
here? I think part of it also is how well you know your spouse. And if you've taken time before you were married to get to know different aspects of their strengths and weaknesses, things like that, it's very common for one person in a relationship to be more of a spender and the other one to be more of a saver. Those kinds of things. One person usually tends to deal more with the math side than the other person. And then as you discuss that, it's not that you can't say, well, one person take charge and manage the finances, but the other person is integrally involved in terms of they know what's going on. Maybe you set an idea of a limit, which we've done early on from the beginning of our marriage. If we're going to spend more than X amount of dollars, then we discuss it. And if we're going to spend a little bit more than that, we made a practice of waiting 24 hours, discussing it, and then if it's something that is really necessary or we've been looking at, we wait 24 hours and really seek and see if that's really the decision we need to make at that point in time. And so you can put things in place to help you, recognizing that one person may not be so good with money as the other person, and it could be man or woman. It doesn't have to be predominantly one or the other, but just recognizing that and building into that will build the trust then. Yes. as you work together.
Yes, this seems to be a very common theme with taking away the next question. Is it a man's job to manage finances?
Yes, I guess I just answered that, didn't I?
Yeah,
Yes,
really.
yes.
And it's not really a man or a woman's job. It's that one person may be stronger or has better ability to manage finances. I don't see why the man should be the one who is determined to handle finances if he knows nothing much about money.
Yeah.
When his wife can manage it much better and perhaps bring in more money.
They
and
did
all
not
of
see
that.
the questions.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a question that has to do with Trinidad, cultural context. Bex money. So we know about Bex money. That's where we, ladies, keep a secret stash for a rainy day in case things go wrong in the relationship. So, is this acceptable? And what are some of the negative ramifications for storing a secret?
Yeah, again, this question I think is connected to the very first question about separate accounts and maybe hiding some of what you've got. I have never been one to entertain, even from young, the idea of vex money. I mean, I've seen it happen in many cases, but it does display again a certain lack of trust. If you start off on a foundation in marriage or mistrust or lack of trust about your finances and you think you've got to hide something, why not perhaps start off with a prenuptial agreement that might cover everything long term if you're that lacking in trust of the person that you're about to be married to. I know for us personally, in the way that it has worked, we never had any vex money accounts, at least that I know of, actively working then or now. Perhaps she's hiding something that I don't know about, but we haven't gone about it that way. We started off from the very inception on the idea of trust, that we pooled our money together from the beginning. She would have had a separate, I had a separate, we had it together, but she's always been listed as the beneficiary, the benefactor, however you want to put that, of whatever I have. She knows what I have, and my name is signed on, her name is signed on, so it can be accessed by either of us at any time. It's never been a problem for us to know what's on credit cards, what's in the bank account, sometimes very little, so that's very easy to look at it, but at the same time, I think it saved us from conflicts, quarrels, a lack of trust, a sense of being able to rest and relax in the relationship, understanding that as two mature persons, we understand that if we're building a future, if, for example, we said we were saving to get a house, we already had established we would not go spending the house money, those kinds of things. We never anticipated, I mean, after 25 years, God is good, but we never anticipated that we would get into it and have to get out of it. So I'd better prepare or perhaps set up myself in a manner that says, if this doesn't work, I've got my own little thing on the side. Legally, it doesn't even function that way, because if you've got vex money and the relationship is broken, that vex money still comes part of the general pooling of the resources that would be worked up by courts or otherwise. So the idea is building trust. Outside of that, there's lack of trust. Outside of the idea of building trust is not only lack of trust, but the conflict that occurs. Outside of that is the very strong possibility that money could be utilized in a manner that does not benefit the couple. It may be that one is stronger than the other, one may be a spendthrift, the other a saver. If the spendthrift is keeping the money, or vex money as the case may be, chances all of that could basically quote unquote go down the drain. The couple still does not benefit from that. But vex money I don't like the idea of it. I don't like entertaining it. I've never entertained it. I don't think I want to entertain it because it does not build on the real strength and unity of the marriage, of the relationship, of the trust, of this sense of we are in this together and we're planning this together and building what we're building together for the future.
Yeah, I think if we understand that if we're mature people going into this relationship, into this marriage, then we understand that if we have our finances together, we trust each other enough that we can go and purchase what we need to purchase. If we think that it's excessive, we discuss it with each other, but we're not going to go an overboard purchase because we care about the other person and we are building our life together. So we're not going to do something to jeopardize that by going and randomly spending however many $1,000s without need, that kind of thing.
You know, that reminds me, I do have some money on the shelf inside this honey, but that's not Vex money, that's Heinz.
That's God's money.
I agree. I have one more question. This one is pertaining to the season that we're in. So we know economically there's a lot of changes that's been taking place during the pandemic, and we have a lot of people losing their jobs. So this is the scenario. My husband has lost his job and is feeling depressed about his inability to support his family like he used to. How can the other spouse, wife in this situation, how can she assist, or if it's vice versa, how can the spouse help the other spouse in the situation?